Custom skins for War Thunder are common sense, but all we can find about it, including tutorials, instructions, and etc., are focused in using image editors like Photoshop or GIMP, which are excellent programs. But what about using Corel Draw for it? Is it possible? Why is it better than the other editors for it? Today we'll make one of FDAX's skins using Corel Draw 2021 and try to answer those questions. Follow me and we'll find it out, weapons free! Salute and welcome to the Fighter Driver channel. I'm Gabriel Oliveira, the Fighter Driver, and today I'll talk about design. You must have realized by now that I use some custom skins for my planes in War Thunder, all based in the US Navy modern standards, but with our personal tweaks and different from everyone I could see around so far. I use Corel Draw 2021 for making them. Well, I can design way better than I fly and fight, that's for sure. And that's why I decided to share some of this knowledge with you all guys. You see, using a vector-based drawing program as Corel Draw brings a lot of advantages over photo editors like Photoshop or GIMP for this kind of job, and I want to share them with you. But before we get there, I want to say thank you all for the huge support you're giving to the channel. We got 10 new subscribers to the channel since the last video and 3 new followers on Instagram, so now we are 67 people here on YouTube and 80 there on Instagram. The community is growing every day, and for that we are getting close to the meta set for January, which is 100 subs and followers in each platform. Our last video got almost 2,000 views in less than a week, and for a channel as small as ours, it's a huge accomplishment. I'm really glad that, despite all the issues we have regarding the quality of our videos, they are somehow interesting and useful to the community, so I really appreciate each and every one of you who follow us. I hope you like this tutorial and find it interesting and useful as well. Now, the month is about to end, but there is still time, so help us accomplishing the meta to get 100 subs here on YouTube and 100 followers on Instagram before the month ends. You do so by dropping your like, your comment, sharing this video with your friends, and subscribing to the channel. I also want to say that I've been paying attention to all the feedback I receive from you, and I'm well aware to the problems with the audio. I promise I'm doing everything within my reach to solve it ASAP. But some of the issues are related to the hardware I have available. I do have to replace it for something better, but I couldn't afford it yet. While that, I do everything technically possible to mitigate it as much as I can, and as soon as I can, I'll solve it for good. Thank you all very much for it. But now let's get to the point. The first thing we must do is creating the templates we'll use for designing our custom skin. There are many tutorials teaching how to make it already. I won't get into details about it here as it isn't the goal for this video. But once we get them, we'll move into Corel Draw and start working. I'll create 2 pages inside the drawing file I created for this custom skin. One for the normals and another for the skin itself. And the drawing pages will have the same size as the templates we created for reference. Nothing very special about the normal so far, but I want you to notice that for the skin page, I'll use 4 different layers, and that's because I want to deal with different elements and different layers as I can lock them, make them invisible, choose if they will be printable in the final image, and etc. Some of them are locked and invisible because I'm using elements I used for the previous skins I made, and that's one of the advantages Corel Draw offers. You can reuse and modify elements in a much easier way compared to other programs. Well, I'll use a layer for the markings and it must be on the top. The second one for the main structure elements, solid 1, the third for minor structure elements, solid 2, and the final one for the bitmap. For the way I work this sequence and organization is important, so the overlaying works properly and one doesn't interfere with the other. If you need more layers, you can just create them and reorganize their positions in the stack as needed. Now, I'll bring the templates in. Let's start with the normals, which controls things as glossiness, metallicity, reflection, and etc. We won't change anything with it now. Actually, we'll almost not change it, but there will be one thing that will be changed in it later. so it brings the effect I want for my skin. In the sequence, I'll bring the actual template to the skin page, bitmap layer, and then I'll lock this layer as we don't have to edit it anyhow. And that's another advantage of using CorelDRAW. I can design whatever I want over it without changing anything to the original, and yet many components of the original template will be present in my final work, as they don't need to be changed and everything will be stacked over it. Now let's get to solid one layer and take a look, as I already have a shape there, which I called fuselage R1, as it covers the right side of the fuselage. It has no color yet, but you can see the line going all around where the fuselage is in the template. We must cut some areas from it, and here comes a hint. Only do that if, like in this template, there are other components shown optimizing the skin space. If the space in the holes are empty, you don't have to do so, because even if they are colored in the skin, those areas won't be shown when the skin is applied on the model, so you don't have to waste time cutting them. But it's not the case here, so I created some shapes and used the tool to modify them, as you can see on screen now. Notice how precisely I can shape things using the shape tool, coming from basic elements as circles, or like this one, a rectangle. You surely can do it in Photoshop or GIMP, but I don't believe it is as versatile. Well, at least I don't remember it being so since the last time I used Photoshop, for example. It's a very good photo editor, but as a drawing tool, I find CorelDRAW better. By the way, this video isn't sponsored by Corel, but if they want to sponsor us, it will be very welcome, okay? Now, I want to cut those shapes from fuselage R1 shape, and for that, we'll use a shape tool called back minus front. So we select the two shapes interacting with each other and apply the tool. Be aware that the one above in the stack will be the one in front, and the one below in the stack will be the back one. The sequence is important. Another hint, if you need to keep the shape in front, make a copy of it before cutting, because you will apply the tool, and when you do so, the shape cut will be erased from the shape below and from the stack as well. Now, I want two more shapes for the fuselage. There will be 3 in total, bringing the pattern I use with 3 different shades of gray, inspired by the F-14 Tomcat patterns from the late 90s and early 2000s. I'll call them fuselage R2 and fuselage R3, and actually they will be reshaped copies of fuselage R1 stacked over, building the pattern we want. Here is the result. So now we'll save the skin and test it over the model in War Thunder. We must copy the skins to the proper folder and modify the BLK file inside the template folder, so it reads the new skins properly. Let's do it and check the results. I always keep the game open and test it real time as I work, so I can see how it looks like and can tweak it here and there until I get the look I want. As you replace the skins with the new modifications inside the template folder, all you have to do is deactivate and reactivate the custom skin so you can follow the progress in real time. Now I'll start shaping the upper side of the wings and test them. I'll shape the many other parts of the airplane I want to modify for my skin. I won't show it on screen as it took many hours to be done, so I'll focus on the key points for this video so it doesn't get longer than needed. What I want you to notice is that I won't make the left side of the fuselage right now. It will be one of the final steps. When I get there, I'll tell you why. There we go, except by a few tweaks here and there and some minor structural parts we still have to make or adjust, the main fuselage is done. But before we get to them, I want to start bringing the markings I want to use in my skin, and here comes the trick. You remember I didn't make the left side of the fuselage? It was because for this skin, the developers decided to rotate and mirror the left side. So everything here must be positioned and mirrored with the left side. Doing it manually, marking by marking, is possible, but it would take a huge amount of time and tweaking, and I don't want to go through it. We can simplify by just positioning everything on the right side, copying them, and then mirroring everything together at once to the left side, simplifying the work by a lot. So let's start with the markings on the right side. Then we'll position the wing markings, and here's another trick. You can use guidelines to help you positioning things if you need to replicate them, because they will give you a reference you can transport to mirrored parts. For example, the wing shapes are not exactly the same in the template, so the panel lines will be my reference, and then I'll position some guidelines over them. When I have to replicate it on the other sides of the wings, I'll just position these guidelines using the same references, and it will give me the results I want. I forgot to show you something. Before we continue here, you probably realized the skin isn't so shiny and glossy, and that's because the modern navy painting patterns which I use for my skins are more opaque, so it helps with camouflage effects. For that, we'll make the only change in the normals template. So we'll select it and go to the menu Effects, submenu Adjust, and then we'll choose the option Color Balance. With all the ranges selected, we'll use the values as set on screen, bringing a greener aspect to the normal, which will bring the opaque aspect to the skin. So now we'll make the left side of the skin. In order to move all the parts together at once, I'll make copies of the elements I want to replicate, rotate and mirror, and then I'll move them to the layer Solid 2, so I can work with them without interfering with the other elements. Once they're all in place, I'll move those elements back to their respective layers and voila! Let's check the results. So, we basically have the skin ready to go. We must make some minor structure parts, the final tweaks, and it's ready to fly. We didn't get too much into details about tools and how to make specific things, as my intention is showing that CorelDRAW can be used for making the skins in a more versatile way, and it allows us to reuse many things from previous skins. Besides, the tools available allow us to deal with shapes in a much more precise way. Now, if you liked it but you want to know more about how to do specific things, please leave me a comment with your questions or suggestions so I can make more videos talking about it, answering your questions, and showing how to use tools and use specific techniques. By the way, I also use CorelDRAW to design the decals I use for deliveries in Gran Turismo 7 as well. So just let me know about it, and if the community is interested in it, I'll bring more videos about it for you. There it is, we have the skin applied and flying in this test flight I used for showing it. Nice, huh? That's it for today, guys. I hope you liked it, and if you did so, hit the like button, leave a comment and share this video with your friends who like Gran Turismo 7 and Simracing, who like War Thunder and aircombatsim, and also designing tools and Corel Draw. Also consider subscribing to the channel with the notifications bell activated so you'll receive the notifications every time there is a video here on the channel. I appreciate you who followed me so far. Salute, and I see you on the next mission.